Hello, and welcome to We Live for Saturday, your favorite college football podcast. I'm your co host, Mike, and I have good and bad news for you. So I'll give you the bad news first. The bad news is that John is having a busier than usual week this week. So he is not able to be on here. But I thought to myself, Mike, people are getting sick of just hearing your voice. So I lined up a couple guests for the next two episodes. So I have here Eric, who goes by Kinetic615 on Twitter. You should check him out. He's a big Twitter. He's a great Twitter follow. And Eric, why don't you tell people right off the bat, you are a Michigan fan and you do a lot of Michigan podcasting. So tell people where they can find your work right off the bat.
Yeah, so you can find me on pretty much any social media platform. If I'm on there, it's going to be at Kinetic615. And I follow mostly with Michigan Wolverines, also some Minnesota Vikings pro sports, but I kind of cover a little bit of everything. I do go outside of my own teams, for analysis and stuff with some of my friends in the content creation business. But I am very much a Michigan fan. I also have my own YouTube channel where I do some sports coverage at Kinetic615. I've also got a gaming channel, Kinetic615 Plays, and then I do a weekly show for college, and we've just started doing NFL stuff too with my buddy Lichamax over on the Gamer Sideline. We also have a little bit of gaming content there as well.
Very cool. So you are a busy man. You can get Eric's content all over the place, and I will have some of that stuff linked in this episode, so you can go right to his Twitter and his YouTube, and you can find his stuff and go from there. But before we get into football, and this is going to be a review of the conference championship game. So just so you know, I went live and on Sunday and talked a little bit about the conference championship weekend. So some of this stuff, if you heard that, just so you know, we'll be talking about some of those same topics because we're, those same games. We're just going to talk about them a little bit differently. And now that I've had, 48, 72 hours to think about things, going to give my thoughts, as they are right now. But Eric, Eric's got some serious stuff going on in his life and could really use a hand. So I'll let you go from there.
Yeah. So just to sort of quickly get into it. I've got a GoFundMe campaign that I started about a year ago because I moved back to Michigan to help my mother, who's fighting stage 4 lung and stomach cancer, to help her get to her appointments and help her do stuff around the house and take care of stuff. Shortly after moving back here to Michigan, I was diagnosed myself by a couple different neurosurgeons here in state, not cleared to work because I have severe spinal stenosis in my spinal cord in both my neck and my lumbar area of my back. It's going to require 3 surgeries with spinal fusion, doing 2 to 4 discs in my neck and potentially 2 discs in my lower back. And in order to get back to working condition and get cleared to work, I've got to have those surgeries on top of a handful of minor surgeries to my heels, my right knee, and my hip. So in order to get some income in the meantime over the next 5 to 7 years of surgeries, I'm attempting to get short-term disability in the meantime, which I should get approved for. But because of my age, because I'm not quite 40 yet, it's a longer process than normal to get through it. I've been going through it for about 14 months now, and so originally it should have been concluded and I would have gotten the disability sometime in the next month or so in December. But because of the recent government shutdown, it's pushed everything back to an estimated around February to March. So I'm just bringing up my GoFundMe campaign, putting it out there, hoping to get a little bit of assistance and help to get through to that time as well. I don't want to ask for anything more than I absolutely need to get by to the disability. That's why I kind of stopped promoting it for a while when I thought I had enough to get till December. And I would never ask anybody to contribute or donate anything that they're not able to. I understand everybody's got stuff that they're dealing with, especially around the holidays. But any amount, couple dollars here and there, or even just sharing it out on social media, it only takes the right person at the right moment to be generous and donate. So Any amount or any amount, just amount of sharing it out on social media and support is greatly appreciated. And it's pinned on my X profile at Kinetic 615. I've also given you the link if you can put that in the description for people. Feel free to message me on X or Discord if you have any questions. I try to be as transparent as possible if I'm asking for help. So.
Yeah, and Eric's a great guy. I am, if you're having a hard time, we understand for sure. I wouldn't say I'm rolling in cash right now as I am a student once again, but I'm definitely going to give what I can, and I encourage others to do the same. It is the holiday season, and it's, Eric is only asking because he absolutely needs it. So at the top of the description of this episode will be the link to Eric's GoFundMe. It'll also be I will also put out some posts on Twitter about it as well.
Yeah, and anything donated, 100% of it only goes to keeping the lights on, keeping the bills paid, the heat on, and keeping gas in the car to get myself to my appointments, to my treatments, to get my mother to her cancer treatments, to her doctor's appointments as well. It's not, none of it's wasted, none of it's used frivolously at all. So
yeah. All right. So help out some people who could use it if you can. I appreciate you in advance, anyone who is able to do that. All right. Let's talk football, huh?
That's what I'm here for.
So we had a wild rivalry week. I'll give my condolences right off the bat. Obviously didn't quite go the way you wanted it to, but we'll get to that game. First, let's talk about the Friday games. Just give your thoughts. We had a couple of blowouts. The number 2, now 12-0, Indiana Hoosiers 56, the Purdue Boilermakers 3. I mean, this was almost a recap of last year's game against Indiana Purdue game, only this year's Purdue is a little more competitive than they were last year. I know they only scored 3 points, but I'd say they're significantly more competitive than they were last year under Ryan Walters, that they are this year under Barry Odom. But it's a big gap, and Purdue for several years in a row has had their best players leave in the transfer portal, and I think you kind of see that show up against teams that are organized and are kind of ready to go. And you saw that against an Indiana team that's really hot right now. Total yards, Indiana had 548 to just 282 for Purdue. And I mean, the rushing total to me is the whole game. 355 rushing yards for Indiana, 44 for Purdue. Nearly 10 yards a carry for Indiana, 1.5 yards per carry for Purdue. I thought that was, in large part the difference in this game. Eric, what'd you think about this one?
Yeah, I mean, so I mean, flat out, I think that Indiana's just a better team, top to bottom for Purdue. I think Purdue played well this year, but it just didn't really show up on the win-loss record as much as it could have. I've been very critical of Kurt Signetti. I don't think I've never said he's a bad coach. I don't think I don't hold him as high as a lot of people, but he's done an outstanding job in 2 years he's been at Indiana.
It's been incredible.
And I have always been very high on Roman Hemby. That transfer, I've always thought he was good.
He's having a nice year.
Yeah, he was a great compliment to Mendoza and Surratt to give them the running game that they needed and really kind of lacked last year. So, I mean, to see him go off the way that he did, I mean, I think he alone had 150 yards or something like that. It's just it's good to see, and I'm excited to see what they do in the conference championship.
Yep, Henby 152 yards on, get this, nearly 13 yards per carry, including an 82-yard run and a touchdown. So touch them all, Roman Hemby, great game. Kalon Black though had some success running the ball as well. So it was, and then the rest of the, and then they kind of got further down. The quarterbacks ran it a little bit, and then Kobe Martin got some carries too. And so it just all added up.
Hemby and Black, I mean, they basically split carries and both did well. Mean, I've been a fan of Hemby since last year.
Hemby's a great player.
Was he at Liberty or somewhere last year? Maryland, that's what it was, Maryland. Yeah. And it was fun watching him last year. So I thought that was a home run of a transfer get.
Yeah. So Indiana with the win moves on to play for the Big Ten title. They are the number 2 team in the country. They are undefeated. And if they win on Saturday, it'll be their first conference title since 1967.
Now, question. Now they're going to the championship game against Ohio State.
Yes.
And they're the number 1 and number 2 team.
Correct.
For the last few weeks, I've had people make the case to me that Indiana had the tougher schedule this year, so they should be number 1. What do you think on that?
I think Ohio State, I think the eye test tells you Ohio State's the best team in the country.
Yeah, definitely with the
Indiana. Look, Indiana's great. I mean, they're great. They're fantastic. If anyone who listens to this show knows how high I am on Indiana, I think, in my opinion, that Curt Cignetti is the best coach, not just in the Big Ten, but in all of college football. That is my personal belief. I said it last summer before this year. When people thought Indiana was a one-year wonder. I said, nuh-uh, not with Curt Cignetti. That guy's a genius. He was Nick Saban's recruiting coordinator when he built his dynasty at Alabama. He evaluates talent better than anybody else in college football. He just does, flat out. It's incredible what he's done. That said, Ohio State looks like not just the best team in college football. They look like one of the best college football teams I've ever seen. Oh, yeah, their defense is a top 5 or 10 defense I've ever seen in my life of college football. And their offense features the best pair of wide receivers we've maybe ever seen in Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate. Like as good as any duo I've ever seen. I can't think of anybody better than the two of them. And we've had, anywhere in college football over the years. So, and Julian saying right now, completing 80% of his passes or whatever. I mean, Mendoza's great, man. He's great. He might win the Heisman. I just think Ohio State has played at a different level. And if you, aside from the Texas game, when the offense didn't play very well, they have torched everybody all year.
Well, but I think that kind of lends to the so listen, I'm not arguing. Like eye test, I think that Ohio State
it's a good conversation.
Is visually they are the number 1 team in the country.
Yeah.
I had some questions based on their strength of schedule up until this last weekend. Julian Sayin had not really faced adversity all season long. And seeing him bounce back from that opening drive where he threw the interception, that proved something to me. Yeah. But I would say, like, if you look at their schedules, I would say that Indiana, it's hard to argue that they
played the tougher schedule. They had to play Oregon.
Yeah,
Ohio State didn't play anybody as good as Oregon.
So then is Ohio State looking better to the eye test because of the competition they were playing against, or are they truly that much better?
I mean, I think we're going to find out on Saturday. Did you see the line's only 4.5 points? This is not a preview.
I have not looked at the lines yet.
The line is 4.5 points only in favor of Ohio State. So
and it's neutral site. So wow,
neutral site, but man, it's in Indiana. And here's the thing: my theory is Ohio State fans have ticket fatigue. They had the Big Ten title game last year, and then the Rose Bowl, and then another bowl game.
Well, they didn't play in the Big Ten last year title game.
Oh, that's right. Okay, but they had a home playoff game.
But they had the Michigan game last year, which was a big thing for them.
Big Michigan game. They had the home playoff game. They played in the Rose Bowl.
Yep.
And they had to travel to all those, the semifinal game and then the title game. Yep. And so I just think that's a lot of things to travel to. And I think a lot of Ohio State fans probably think they're going to win and probably think they're going to be back at the Rose Bowl.
And they're also looking at it that win or lose, they're still going to probably have a bye in the playoffs.
Right. Indiana hasn't had a chance like this in our lifetime. I think it's going to be 70-30 Indiana fans.
I can see it.
Because I've heard of I was talking to a buddy of mine, friend of the pod, Phil, and the guy he gets his tickets from normally, face value there, for the Michigan game, I think was like $358. And for the Indiana game, upcoming game is $358, and he's going to resell them for $3,800.
Wow.
So, like, Indiana fans are desperate to be at this game, I think.
Yeah, so I mean, they have a lot.
I think they'll have the advantage in the crowd. I just don't know if they're going to have the advantage on the field. But
they have a lot to prove that Ohio State doesn't. Like Ohio State doesn't feel like they have to prove anything in this next game.
No, Ohio State just has to win. They just have to win. I mean, Indiana does too, but it's a different thing.
Right.
But we will get to that in the next pod. I'm going live after this, so we'll talk about that. Let's go on to The 8-4 Iowa Hawkeyes 40. The 7-5 Nebraska Cornhuskers 16. This was an old-fashioned beatdown. I mean, it was close in the first half, sure. It was close in the first half. It was 8 points at halftime. And then Nebraska did not score in the second half. Didn't score, didn't get on the board. They got shut down, pretty much entirely after halftime. It just was not happening. So if you look at it, in fact, after halftime of the game, Nebraska went punt, fumble. And that was it. They got 3 possessions in the second half. 3. Iowa just controlled the ball, controlled the clock, bled it, got ahead, kept getting a little more ahead, just ground them into powder. And I feel like that's my defining with this Nebraska team, Eric. Yeah, they went 7-5, which I guess technically is better than the 6-6 they went last year, technically. But it felt like a year of missed opportunities and the big games that they had chances to win. I'm not talking about against, I'm not even talking about against like USC. I mean, USC, they had the quarterback injury. Obviously, that's a big what if. But, you look at against Nebraska, you look at against Minnesota, they just got whipped. Or sorry, not against Nebraska. Nebraska against Iowa. You look at against Iowa, you look at against Minnesota, they just got whipped up front. Mm-hmm. And I think that happened a lot this year for Nebraska. And it's Nebraska has subsequently fired their defensive coordinator, John Butler, after 1 year. So I think Nebraska fans expected a lot more this year, and it just did not live up. It just did not live up to the kind of season that any of them anticipated having. What are your thoughts on this game, Eric?
Yeah, I mean, I think Nebraska had a lot of expectations going into this year with the second year of Raiola and the buildup of the Matt Rule third year.
Yep.
Everywhere he's been, third year they take the big step.
Third year Matt Rule, they're going to win 11, 12 games. Going to happen.
Right. And I think that they went into the season expecting that, and it just didn't come together right for them. Even when we played them, and we didn't necessarily play our greatest game. I mean, that was sort of the game that we had the coming out of Jayshawn Barham moving to edge because of the pressure he was able to get on Dylan Raiola.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what it is. I mean, you look at last year versus this year, I would say that last year they looked better in that they had a stronger schedule last year. I mean, yeah, they had one less win.
I know they had a pretty favorable schedule last year too. It's been 2
years. But they had to go
when they should have capitalized on favorable schedules and have not.
Well, but they had to go on the road at Ohio State, for example, last year, right?
Right.
And they almost won that game.
Yeah, it's true.
I didn't see any of their.
They didn't show that kind of ceiling this year.
Right. I just feel like they didn't really their wins this year. So and I'll apply this to Michigan as well. And I'm stealing this from one of the other Michigan shows, so I don't want to take credit for this statement, but the wins that we had this year felt like empty calorie wins. We didn't have a statement win, and I feel the same way about Nebraska this year. I don't feel like they had a statement win. I don't even feel like they had a statement loss where they looked really good in the loss.
USC is the closest.
Right.
And they looked good up until Dylan Raiola got hurt, and then they did not, and then it was.
And it feels like that team's entire momentum, their entire will to fight left with that injury.
Yeah, it's and now Dylan Raiola is reportedly probably leaving the program.
And I hear he might be looking at Texas Tech. That's a joke, guys. It's not. There's no actual report.
That's Dylan Raiola has a fascination with Patrick Mahomes joke, and Patrick Mahomes went to Texas Tech, so that's why. There's been no actual reports.
There's been no actual reports of him going to Texas Tech.
No. You know what's wild to me is that Iowa didn't even get pressure really. Like they didn't record a sack, and TJ Lateef still ended up 9 for 24 for 69 yards.
Yep.
9 for 24. That is not, I'm sorry, Dylan Raiola is a better quarterback than that. And it's like, if you're gonna let Dylan Raiola walk out the door, you better be getting another quarterback in the transfer portal, because Lateef is not the answer.
Right.
You know?
Well, and I tell you what, and I don't know what their plan is with him. I doubt that they're.
Emmett Johnson had
banking on him.
over 200 yards rushing, and they only scored 16 points. How's that even possible? He had over 200 yards rushing. They scored 16 points.
Yeah, I mean, they've got to find something. They've got I've brought this guy up to you before. They've got a really good quarterback coming in the class after this year's class.
Right.
They've got to find a bridge to him. I think Nebraska is going to look really good when this guy gets to campus, but what are they going to do next year? Like, Raiola was their entire.
They built the whole program around him. They hired his uncle. They did everything, which the uncle's probably, if Dylan Raiola is leaving, you got to think the uncle's getting fired.
Oh yeah, I mean, absolutely.
Because their offensive line was horrendous this year. I mean, Minnesota sacked Dylan Raiola 9 times when we played.
Yeah, it's insane.
And they could have had more. So yeah, it's just wild that Nebraska is so one-dimensional, so reliant on Emmett Johnson. Once Dylan Raiola went out, go ahead.
No, I was just saying they've got to get a transfer bridge from. If Raiola leaves, they've got to get somebody to bridge to Trey Taylor getting there for 1 or 2 seasons.
Yep.
They've got to.
No, I'm with you. And I look at Iowa again, man. And Iowa, I mean, congrats to them. Gronowski didn't throw for a lot, but he ran for 64 yards, and they ran for over 200 yards as a team, and they played field position, and they took advantage, and and they got the job. They just full out got the job done.
Well, I've given a lot of crap to Gronowski that I felt like we were sold a lot of hype that wasn't there with him also in the preseason. Yeah. But I'll give it to him that this is, despite all of that, this is the most potent Iowa offense that I've seen in a decade.
This year and last year. This year and last year with Caleb Johnson. Because last year they had Caleb Johnson, who was superhuman. But this year,
Caleb Johnson,
This year they're more balanced because Gronowski can run, and so can the running back.
Right. They weren't. They actually had
those threats.
Right. And I got to give him the credit where it's due. While I don't think all the preseason hype was warranted, he has not been the fool's gold that I thought he was going to be.
No.
For this season.
And last thought on Iowa, man, they got to look at that Iowa State game, and also the losses to Oregon and USC, and just think, man, if they could have won 2, if they could have gotten 2 out of those 3, they would have made the playoff.
Yeah.
I think they were close to it. I think this was a very good Iowa team. This was one of the best probably the best offensive line in the country, maybe, or top 2 or 3, along with Oregon and a couple others, and maybe Michigan and some teams that are really good up front. I feel like they kind of wasted it and ended up 8-4 again.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I'll say I think they were better than ours, and I think ours was a lot just because we're so young up front. But right. I think their line was better this year.
They were really good,
despite us being a nominee for a Joe Moore Award. I don't believe that. I think I would have taken Iowa's line.
Yeah.
Well, all right. What do you think that Iowa goes from here? Do you think that they continue trending up? Or do you think this was a flash in the pan, a blip on the radar for Iowa?
No, I think Tim Lester is a good offensive coordinator. I think he does a lot with what he has. And they can run the ball. And if they can run the ball, because for years, Iowa couldn't run the ball.
Right.
And they just got by on defense and punting, seriously, and still won 8 or 9 games a year. If they can run the ball consistently, then the sky's the limit. They're going to have a chance at the playoff every year. Because that defense is always amazing, and they always have the best punter in the Big Ten somehow.
And the best tight end somehow.
Yeah, and they're 4 deep at tight
aside from when we had Colston Loveland, they always have the best.
No, they're like 4 deep at tight end always. And they don't have any receivers, and it doesn't matter. So I think as long as Kirk Ferentz is there, Iowa's going to keep winning at a pretty high rate, at a pretty good clip. Yeah. That's my opinion of it. Because again, against the teams that they should be close to, it wasn't close. Right. It wasn't close with Nebraska. It wasn't close with Minnesota. It wasn't close with Wisconsin. Those games weren't close. You know, they are head and shoulders above. I mean, it kills me to say it. They are head and shoulders above their rivals right now.
And it's kind of crazy because it feels like there's so much separation above and below them. Like it's almost like they're in this tier by themselves.
They are.
They're so much better than everyone that's below them, but they're not even close to the teams that are above them yet.
Yeah,
it's so weird.
It's Iowa, man. It's where it's an Iowa thing. I've gotten used to it, although I don't like it. All right, let's get to Saturday games. I'll let you take the floor. Number 1, Ohio State, 27. Number 15, Michigan. Or sorry, the 12-0. Number 1, Ohio State, 27. And number 15, Michigan, 9-3 with 9. 27-9. What did you think about this game? I know you talked a lot about Michigan being young this year, and you thought that really kind of came out in this one, huh?
Absolutely. I mean, we were the youngest team in the Big Ten. We started, I think, 6 of our 11 starters on offense were freshmen.
Wow.
3 of our offensive line are freshmen. Our top players were, aside from running back, were Bryce Underwood and Andrew Marsh. Both of those guys graduated high school 7 months ago.
Right.
Bryce Underwood turned 18 2 weeks before the start of the season. Crazy. And we asked them to come in here and play the top level of college football against, some of the best competition in the country.
Yep.
And, I'm not mad at a 9-3 record considering that. This game, I don't know. I can't sit here and confidently say we would have won the game, but I think it would have went a lot. It would have been different if we didn't lose Justice Haynes, Jordan Marshall coming into this game. Jordan Marshall tried to play the first 2 drives. He was getting through the line like crazy. Like Ohio State were not.
Yeah, Michigan ran the ball well in the first half, especially
until Jordan Marshall came out. He tried to play and he couldn't.
Right.
And it's like when we put Bryson Kuzdal in, it's like our offense had no backup plan.
No pop.
Yeah. There was nothing there. Bryce Underwood, he's shown flashes, but the moment was too big for him as a true freshman. Andrew Marsh, credit to Matt Patricia. He was able to shut Andrew Marsh down. And it just the youth and the inexperience and the lack of depth once we got 3-4 deep at our running back room is just it exposed the offense for what it was, and it's a very young team. I'm not dismayed really by the loss because everything that looks good for the team is coming back next year with another year of experience.
Yeah.
The thing that concerns me the most offensively is that it's very clear there is some kind of a disconnect on the offensive coaching staff. There's some kind of a struggle between what Chip Lindsey wants to run and what Sharon Moore's allowing him to run.
Right.
That needs to get figured out this offseason, whether it's a change at offensive coordinator, whether it's bringing in I think regardless, we need a dedicated QB coach, whether Chip Lindsey goes to primarily QB coach for Bryce Underwood and we bring in another play caller, a co-OC, which we've done before, whether we bring in a dedicated QB coach to take that off of Chip Lindsey so he can focus on the offense. But Sharon Moore, in my opinion, needs to take a step back and be the head coach and not stop trying to be the play caller. He brought Chip Lindsey in for a reason. There's no reason this offense should look like it did last year under Davis Warren, with Davis Warren at quarterback, with Kurt Campbell. We got rid of Kurt Campbell for a reason. We brought in Chip Lindsey for a reason, and now it's like Sharon's afraid to let him call his game. So that needs to change. I'm still up in the air on our wide receivers coach.
I think you need a portal wide receiver.
We definitely need a portal wide receiver. We need
I like Andrew Marsh a lot, but you need one more.
Yeah, I mean, we brought Donovan McCulley in, and McCulley, he's a fine number 2.
He's
but he was
fine,
never
but he's a second
1.
banana. He was never going to be a star.
Right. And we're asking a true freshman to step up and be number 1.
Yeah.
And we need somebody to come in alongside Andrew Marsh to let Andrew Marsh grow in that position. We've got to do something. Defensively, man. Sayin looked good. Like I said, he had adversity for probably the first time this season with the early interception, and he bounced back, and we couldn't get pressure on him. our defensive line, I thought we were going to be able to do what we did from 21 to 22, where we went from Hutchinson and Ajabo to really just a deep offensive line with the heavy rotation and being able to keep guys fresh. We were still able to sort of make up that loss of star power by, the depth and rotation. We weren't able to do that this year like we did in 22. Right. And it showed. We did not get, I don't know how many pressures we got on Sayin at all. Jay Sean Barham, I love Jay Sean Barham. He should have been ejected in that game.
Yeah.
That there was no excuse for that.
I mean,
there's no excuse for that. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he intended to headbutt him, but I mean, it happened.
You got to be careful. You're wearing a helmet,
right? And it's just like there's no excuse for that. I like Wink. I'm not calling for Wink to be gone, but the discipline on this team, they were a young team, and that's an excuse this year. That's not an excuse going forward.
Yep. No,
and we've got to do better on tackling, on wrapping up tackles, on fundamentals. I think Wink called a decent game. A lot of people give him grief over blitzing too much. I think his play calling all day was pretty.
I guess Ohio State. What else are you gonna do?
Right.
You can't match up. Nobody can match up with them speed wise, like straight up. You have to. Right. You have to force the issue a little bit.
And I think he was very. What's the word? Where he picked his spots really well for
judicious.
Yes.
Yeah.
But again, we've got a very young team, and Zeke Berry was just getting torched, and it didn't matter whether we had him on Carnell Tate or Jeremiah Smith. Jair Hill did great today, not today, last week. He did great in this game, covering whichever one he was on. But whenever it was Zeke Berry against one of them, and Zeke converted from safety to corner after last season, so maybe give him a little bit of grace there, but we couldn't cover him.
Yeah. Fair enough.
We couldn't keep both of them covered at the same time. So
yeah,
we've got a lot of things that we need to work on. But I mean, hats off to Ohio State. They beat us, and I've said for years, be able to acknowledge you got beat by the better team.
Yes.
I have two gripes with Ohio State from that game, and neither one is the reason we lost. Right. I don't think that was a touchdown. Jeremiah Smith. You could see that before he crossed the plane, he bobbled it, and he didn't have control of it until his foot was out of bounds.
Yeah, it's like what happened to us against Oregon. They called it a touchdown, and he clearly never had control of it. That's frustrating.
Right, and that was not the reason we lost the game. So I'm not trying to make an excuse. They beat us. They beat us in the trenches. They beat us on both sides of the ball. Every phase of the game, they beat us. That was not a touchdown. And the comments that Ryan Day made after the game, that we win with humility, then tell me why there's video of Jeremiah Smith going over and flipping off Michigan fans and yelling obscenities at them. Is that humility? Come on.
The rivalry lives all year, Eric. Love it. All right. On
that
note,
I'm good with it, but own it. Don't try to say we're on the higher ground.
No, hey, once upon a time, Minnesota was losing to Wisconsin in the fourth quarter by 27, and Brett Bielema went for 2. And after the game, he said a card told him to. I was like, dude, you're up 4 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. Just say you wanted to be a dick.
Yeah,
just say you wanted to be a dick, and you wanted to stick it in our face, and
absolutely
own it. So yeah, I'm with you. All right, let's move on to some other games.
All right.
So we'll be a little quick on these since we don't have a ton of time here.
Sure.
We are on a little bit of a time budget today. So you're gonna get our quick thoughts on things. Number 11-1, number 6, Oregon 26, 8-4, Washington 14. Jedd Fisch is building something in Washington. They fight, they hung around, they were in this game into the second half. They didn't, Oregon only ends up winning by 2 scores. Like, yes, Oregon was clearly the better team. Yes, Oregon more or less controlled the game, and you knew they were going to win. But there's no lack of fight in these Huskies. Like, this is a good team. I think Jedd Fisch is doing a good job. And, man, I'll tell you what. I don't think anybody wants to play Oregon in the college football playoff because they have gotten better and better and better since that Indiana loss. They didn't run the ball well, which was weird, but against Washington, but Dante Moore gets better and better every time out, it seems like. And even when he's got to carry the offense like he kind of did in this game. Yeah, I think especially if Oregon, and I think Oregon's might be a little banged up on the offensive line and whatnot. If they can get healthy, Oregon's going to be like really tough in the playoff, I think.
Yep. I'm really high on Oregon. I think that they were my pick preseason to
Right?
go all the way. I'm not backing off of that because you look at what they're doing now. They're not going to the Big Ten championship, and then they're probably not going to have that the double bye between the for the playoffs. Like
Right.
they
They're
had
going to have a
before.
nice home playoff game where they
Right,
can flex a little bit against a team that's not as good as they are.
right.
And they can
What did
ramp
Ohio
up.
State do
Yeah.
last year? Ohio
Yes.
State did not go to the conference championship. They
Yeah.
played a Tennessee that was out of their element in round one, and then they went in and demolished Oregon in the Rose Bowl. Oregon has the opportunity to do that this year. They have the talent to do it. Dante Moore, I think, was really efficient in this game. I mean, he 20 of 29, 286 yards, and just I think they just controlled the game. Washington, I've said before, I think they're a good team. I think they're going to be a great team. I think they're a year away from it. I think next year Washington's going to be scary.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. All right, cool. Let's move on. Rapid fire through it. Next up, we have the number 17, US 9-3, USC Trojans 29, the UCLA Bruins 10. UCLA was ahead at half. They fought hard. They have all year. I think that, Nico Iamaleava has been a warrior for them. He's been without a lot to work with. He's done a lot of good things, but USC is a better team this year than they were last year. They went from 7 wins to 9, and you can see the improvement. They were tough. They took it to some really good teams. Even in their losses, they were, largely in it. USC's on the right track, and they got a great recruiting class coming in. So they really are on the right track. And then UCLA just hired Bob Chesney, which Penn State still doesn't have a coach, and UCLA hired Bob Chesney. So you could argue that UCLA right now is doing a better job of hiring a football coach than Penn State.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I think when it comes down to it, the bottom line is USC is a more talented team right now.
Yeah.
Like you said, as much crap as Nico took from everyone, including myself, over the offseason for what happened, he has, really been, like you said, a warrior this year. He's showed up in every game, despite the controversy and struggles that they've had with the coaching firing and really a lack of talent around him. He's still played well. So he's done better than I expected him to. But I mean, you just look at USC. Maiyava's come on as a really strong for a really strong year. They're 3 deep at running back. They've got Makai Lemon, Jacoby Lane, and their defense is playing better than I've seen a USC defense play in a long time. So, and like you said, with their recruiting class, they went wire to wire. It looks like as with the number 1 class, and unlike last year where everyone kind of bailed halfway through the season, they've kept it together. So, I mean, USC is the more talented team, and they're on the way up. But I like what UCLA is doing as well.
Yep. No, I'm with you on both those things. It'll be interesting to track what both those teams do going into next year. All right, next up, we had the 7-5 Minnesota Golden Gophers 17, the 4-8, excuse me, Wisconsin Badgers 7. This was Minnesota largely. This was a snow globe game. It snowed all morning, all afternoon, all day, all night after the game. It never stopped. It piled up. I think we ended up with close to a foot of snow, and there was a lot falling in that game. It was hard to keep your footing. The ball was a little wet. You could see that with some drops. And it was just, sometimes it's just about who's the tougher team and who wants it more. And Minnesota was just tougher than Wisconsin was. You could see it in the hits. Minnesota was hitting people, man. I mean, separating. When they got the ball back at the end of the game, Aiden Gooseby separated the Badger receiver from the ball, like just got a full head of steam and shouldered him and just absolutely lit him up like a Christmas tree, and the whole crowd erupted. It was a lot of fun. Minnesota got some big plays on offense and defense, which I think is, kind of endemic of Minnesota all year, where they have some really nice playmakers and the offensive line is only okay, but that worked out. And then Drake Lindsay, he only had 90 yards passing, but he completed 75% of his passes and didn't turn it over.
Darius Taylor had a good game too, didn't he?
Oh, Darius Taylor played great, man. Darius Taylor was the man. He had over 100 yards. He had over 100 yards rushing, and let's see, what did he end up with? Darius Taylor ended up with, 19 rushes for 100 yards and a touchdown, punctuated by that 49-yard touchdown run where he's been hurt all season off and on. He hit full speed. He was fully healthy for once. Hit full speed against Wisconsin, outran the secondary for a touchdown. I have a shot of that in the snow, and it's just beautiful. Like somebody took this great photo, and he's got two Badgers to his left, and he's running by him, and you see the crowd in the background, and there's a Wisconsin coach doing this. And I put it in the Louvre, man. So it was a big win for Minnesota. They needed that. They needed it badly. They got it, I think, going into the offseason. It was not the season Gopher fans wanted, but they went undefeated at home, 7-0 at home. Very young team also, like Michigan.
Right.
7-0 at home, 0-5 on the road. That's what you get sometimes with a young team.
Yeah, you can't really argue with that, man. And I'm happy to see Darius Taylor have a good game, man. Like I've told you before, I actually kind of like Minnesota, even though it's supposed to be a rival for us.
Right.
But I like them, and anytime I can see Luke Fickell, former Buckeye, get a loss handed to him, I'm for it.
I called it their Super Bowl. He said it's their Super Bowl.
Well, I do like to see Carter Smith, who I was really big on in recruiting, got in the game and got a little bit of game time. But yeah, I mean, Minnesota, I'm glad they won this one.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I went off. If you want to see my extended reaction to the Minnesota-Wisconsin game, go check out my live stream I did on Sunday. I waxed poetic about it for a while. But we will move on. I'll just say, in the last two Minnesota-Wisconsin games, the score is Minnesota 41, Wisconsin 14. That's the score of the last two games. I'm just saying. All right. We had the 6-6 Penn State Nittany Lions 40, the 5-7 Rutgers Scarlet Knights 36. This summed up everything about Rutgers' season because they played great offensively. They scored a bunch of points. They had Penn State, but they couldn't stop Penn State at all. Katron Allen almost broke a single game Penn State rushing record, over 200 yards, 226 or something yards rushing. But when they needed it, when Rutgers had the lead in the fourth quarter, Ethan Kaliak-Manis faded back to pass and just dropped the ball. Penn State picked it up, ran it for a touchdown, and that's how much they won by. And dude, it's the most Ethan, man. He has lost more games. He had a great senior year, but that guy has never been clutch. And in the clutch, he will just fall down or drop balls or throw it to defenders or airmail it over his receiver by 20 yards. I mean, that guy, he is the opposite. Whatever the opposite of clutch is, he's that.
Yeah, it's really crazy to see how he just melts down in those big moments. But then you look at the stat sheet, and he's got 338 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Only missed 6 passes.
Yeah, he played great largely, but then when the lights are brightest, it's Ethan, man. It's Ethan. That's how he is. Penn State makes a bowl game after being 3-6 to start the year. So good for them for finishing strong.
Yeah. Where do you think the Penn State goes with where do you think their head coaching search goes?
I thought for sure Kalani Sitake was going to take the job.
Yeah.
And now that he turned them down to stay at BYU, I don't know, man. Can they still get James Franklin back? Can they call Virginia Tech and say, we're sorry? Because I think they really screwed up on this one. I think they thought they were going to have Kurt Signetti or anybody they wanted, and they've gotten
or Matt Rule or
the rumor is that Kalani Sitake was their 10th choice, and he said no.
Wow.
So it's not going well in State College.
I wonder what it is that's like scaring all these people.
The rumor is that Jimmy Sexton, James Franklin, is his client, and that he has a bunch of coach clients, and he told them all, don't coach for Penn State or I won't be your agent anymore.
Wow.
That's the rumor. I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, it's wild. It's totally wild. I don't know what Penn State does from here. We'll speculate about that in the live stream after this. All right, we got 5 minutes to finish 2 games.
Gotcha.
We had the 4-8 Michigan State Spartans 38, the 4-8 Maryland Terrapins 28. This was a nice win for Michigan State. Their backup quarterback, Milivojevic, who took over for Aiden Childs a while back, played pretty well. I was about to say this is Jonathan Smith gaining a little momentum, going to go into the offseason. He's going to build on this and change his coaching staff, and maybe in year 3, nope, not going to be a year 3. Michigan State fired Jonathan Smith and hired Pat Fitzgerald, formerly of Northwestern. So Maryland loses the game, but gets to keep their coach. And Michigan State won the game, but is moving on. And that job was not open for 5 minutes before they hired Pat Fitzgerald. So they must have decided on that weeks ago.
Yeah. So I'll try to make it really quick. As far as the game, Malik Washington is a phenom.
He's amazing.
I like him. He was Michigan's pivot if Bryce didn't flip last year.
459 yards passing.
Yeah, so he was insane. I've always been a bigger fan of Milivojevic over Aiden Childs. I've just liked the kid. I think you really see the difference between the two programs. I thought both of these coaches would get fired by the season's end. I told you weeks ago that I thought Jonathan Smith was going to be gone, and it appears that they also decided weeks ago he was going to be gone. But they wanted to line up his replacement beforehand because it literally came hours after his firing that it was Pat Fitzgerald.
Hey, Penn State, you can actually do that. You can back channel and have the coach lined up before you fire your coach. That's the thing.
Meanwhile, Maryland, who have a great coach, I think, in Loxley, who's just not been had the greatest of circumstances. They actually give him the vote of confidence, give him more time. I like that, and that's why
because now they get to keep Malik Washington probably.
Yep, and I think that's why you see Michigan State in this perpetual cycle where they're constantly changing coaches, constantly just not able to get out of the muck.
Never gets back. So, the original sin was firing D'Antonio.
Yep.
The original sin, after a couple bad seasons, they fired the best coach they ever had, and that was stupid.
When you fire your coach every couple of years, this is what you get.
My thing with Michigan State is they think they're Penn State, but they're actually Iowa, and they need to learn that.
Yep.
They are Iowa at best, and until they figure that out, and they keep trying to be Ohio State.
Lately, they've been Purdue.
That's what I'm saying. You think you're Ohio State, you end up being Purdue.
Yep.
That's a perfect way to put it. All right, last game. We had the 8-4 Illinois Illini 20, the 6-6 Northwestern Wildcats 13. Illinois has been really banged up. They lost to Wisconsin in an ugly game, but they got a little healthier here. And give them credit. They hung tough. They played hard. They didn't run the ball super well. They didn't pass the ball that well, but they just kind of grinded it out and got a gritty victory against the Wildcats here. In a rivalry game. Like they're not what they were. They're Illinois had really bad injury luck this year, unfortunately. But they're able to still get to 8 wins, which 10 wins last year, 8 wins this year. That's the best run anybody's had and 8 years wins the year before. That's the best run that anyone's had at Illinois since the 90s, since Ron Turner. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, preseason, I thought that Illinois was a little overhyped because of the success they had last year, but I never thought they were a bad team. I think Luke Altmaier's fine, but like you said, injuries have just hit them hard. Northwestern, they're kind of like Michigan light. They try to do everything Michigan does in the same way. They're just not as successful at it.
Yep.
This was a struggle to watch. It was two teams that just couldn't pull it together. Completely. And but that's college football. So happy to see that the Illinois was able to make a bowl. Not sure where Northwestern goes from here, but hey, they're getting a new stadium. So
there we go. And also, David Braun, I think, is doing a good job for them.
Yeah.
Because they don't, it's really hard for them recruiting wise. And
it's so bad.
He keeps pulling upsets over teams who recruit a lot better than he does.
Well, and that's what you've got to be able to do as a coach at Northwestern. I mean, Pat Fitzgerald did it, and Braun is doing it.
Yep.
But you have to be able to do that at Northwestern because you just do not have the resources.
You don't get the athletes the same way. You don't get the depth of athletes for sure that you get at even an average Big Ten school. No, you don't.
Right.
All right. Well, Eric, thanks so much for coming on for a short and to the point podcast. Once again, I will have everything linked for Eric so you can get on his Twitter and check out his YouTube. But also, Eric, why don't you mention one more your GoFundMe one more time?
Yeah, so you can find the GoFundMe link in the description of the video. You can also find it pinned at the top of my profile on X at Kinetic615. And you can message me about it. I'm happy to explain anything that's going on with it. But just trying to keep bills paid, keep lights on and gas in the car for myself and my mother to get to our doctor's appointments and our treatments, her cancer treatments, until I can get the disability, which should be coming in the next couple of months. I'm just waiting for the date to be set.
Awesome. So. All right, so help Eric if you can. It is the holiday season, and I hope all of you have a great time. And also, I'm about to record a live stream, so I'll see you all in a minute.
Yep. As always, go Blue.